and welcome back to End Times Prophecy News Update. This is Carrie Geren Scoggins. Today we're discussing America's push towards more socialism and the school systems propagandizing our youth with pro-socialist propaganda without an opposing viewpoint being taught. Steering away from what our founding fathers, such as Thomas Jefferson, supported, who stood against collectivism or Marxism, working for the collective good, supporting the right of the individual as opposed to working for the collective good. Karl Marx's collectivism, or working for the collective good, brings in a board or bureau where the government decides what's best for everyone, leading to censorship, higher taxes, and someone else deciding for you how you will live your life. When Thomas Jefferson said he supported the right of the individual, it was to make their own choices on how they will live their life without government intervention. Smaller government, less government intrusion into your personal life and into your business. It used to be on the political line that many felt that to the right, or conservatism, Republicans, wanted control in your home life, in your bedroom, where the political left wanted control in your business. They wanted to be able to come into your private business and tell you how to run it. And the goal was freedom straight across the board, which is even further to the right on the political line, more towards a libertarian. Moving on, looking at the school system and why there's a push for more socialism. The teachers' unions are on the Democratic Party membership list. Thomas Jefferson stated that we were not to have a government-operated school system because it would become a political propaganda outlet, and he spoke those words as if it were a prophecy, that the teachers' unions across the United States are on a political party's membership list, that of the Democratic Party. It was George W. Bush that tried to pass legislation making it to where an individual cannot be forced to join a union, such as a teachers' union, due to opposition to their liberal Democrat viewpoint. It's something that is common sense. It should be your constitutional right to refuse to join a union, whether it be a labor union that's in the private industry or a state union for a state job, such as a teachers' union. Tennessee is one of the two right-to-work states where the state can't force an individual to join a union. This said that the teachers' unions are all on the Democratic Party membership list shows the bias that's going on in those picking the school's curriculum. It's just as one-sided as it sounds. No opposing viewpoint to the Democratic Party platform in the public schools on your tax money. What is the opposing view? That Thomas Jefferson supported in a Jeffersonian republic, as opposed to Karl Marx, big socialism, and collectivism, working for the collective good. The opposing viewpoint to the Democratic Party. Let's take a closer look at what the students are not hearing. For example, the adage, when you get government money, you get government control. How does that work out in reality? Well, let's use the example of the banning of cigarettes in the UK. Because a border bureau decides that cigarettes raise healthcare costs, and they have full socialized medicine, socialism, full socialism. It raises healthcare costs and costs the state more money for individuals that smoke, according to their border bureau. So they have decided to ban cigarettes altogether. Cigarettes are now contraband in the UK. And they've also tossed around the idea of banning eating of meat. They've already put a ban on hunting. They want a complete crackdown on meat eaters. Again, due to socialized medicine and raising healthcare costs, due to a high-fat diet. Next on the list, we saw the banning of alcohol and other items such as caffeine, diet drinks, and the list became endless. When you get government money, you get government control. Many in opposition to socialism have made debates such as that over Obamacare, that the quality of health care goes down drastically. And because most socialism fails, they end up cutting more and more people off health care, finding reasons due to the outlandish expense. Taking a good look at Obamacare, we see this happening within its very first year. Could have been considered age discrimination. They made over age 40 low priority. Over age 64 in Obamacare is lowest priority status. And who gets high priority? The underage 20 crowd. So, you could call it poor planning when one sees that the high priority status of underage 20 includes the second baby boom generation, the 2007 baby boom generation, the largest generation in global history that was born here in the United States. So, we see the future of Obamacare going further and further in debt, and more people getting cut off health care. They call them death panels in Obamacare, cutting off treatment of a terminal illness without a specific age brought into the equation. Looking at Canada's socialized medicine, one sees a cutoff date of age 55 on a terminal illness. This is more information. The Democrats running the public school system do not relay on to the students. An opposing viewpoint. Just looking at Canada's socialized medicine, the cutoff age of 55 on a terminal illness, and compare that to Obamacare's death panels, that they had previously denied existed, and yet have come to play now that Obamacare is in full swing. $17 trillion a year in debt. Bankrupt in its first year. We know this because they were already borrowing money to bail out Obamacare within its first year. Within the first 5 years, they had already, quote, raised the debt ceiling to cover the minimum payment on Obamacare, fearing that they would default on the loan to China, that they were going to have to raise the debt ceiling, borrow more money from another nation to make the minimum payment to China on the loan for Obamacare. This is 17 trillion a year, not 17 trillion in one lump sum. So yearly, as we only pay the minimum payment, it's accruing interest. It's 17 trillion each year. So in 5 years, do the math. China was very angry and threatened to invade, according to some media outlets. And that was the rush to pass this raising the debt ceiling. That's how serious this is. We owe that money to someone. We're not just printing up more money and throwing it out in the system to cause hyperinflation. We're borrowing it from another country who already holds animosity towards the United States. Again, looking at the opposing viewpoint concerning socialized medicine, the cutting off of the terminally ill in what we call death panels in Obamacare, and the age discrimination to cut down on costs. Low priority over age 40, lowest priority over age 64. That means all of the baby boomers were lowest priority. Paid in taxes their whole life, and were expecting health care as they became elderly. And now, lowest priority status is what they get, which means a bump to the back of the line and basically no health care. So the quality of health care goes down, fewer get health care, and in situations such as Canada, if they're caught trying to pay for medical care outside of the socialized medicine system, they arrest them. They're incarcerated if found guilty. The threat of a penitentiary for going outside of the state's socialism, trying to pay someone to treat their terminal illness after age 55, where their socialized medicine program has cut them off. And I'm sure Canadians are very angry. They come across our borders in New York trying to get health care from the healthcare system in New York, willing to sell their homes and come to the United States to try to buy cancer treatments. Because again, after age 55, it's cut off on a terminal illness. And if you're caught going outside the system to pay cash for a doctor to treat you, you're arrested and if found guilty, incarcerated in a penitentiary. That's what socialism is. When you get government money, you get government control. That factor that the Democrats in the public school system is not teaching. Many have feared, due to socialized medicine, that they would try to move into other areas, such as what we teach our children concerning transgenders and the gay agenda. And already they're suggesting that doctors be able to take the teenager aside and have their discussion on their viewpoint of the gay and lesbian issues. When you get government money, you get government control. Here in the United States, of course, it being government money, that would violate separation of church and state endorsement of their views. Fortunately, we have a safety net. The 1964 Civil Rights Act giving religion protected class status, the biblical core values ruling, our legal right to adhere to biblical core values upheld in the federal Supreme Court, citing specifically our legal right to adhere to biblical core values such as Romans chapter 1. So please remember that they have other plans for the future of socialized medicine, and it concerns attempts to control what we teach our children and paying for surgeries such as transgender surgeries to transition into the opposite sex, on our tax dollars, as well as taxpayer-funded abortions. Other aspects of socialism. The opposing viewpoint to the Democratic Party platform that the school system is not teaching our children. Another factor on socialism that the public schools are not addressing is that of Adolf Hitler's push for National Socialism. We hear so many liberal Democrats try to say that Nazi Germany was right-wing. Looking at this from an accurate perspective, Nazi Germany was National Socialism, the National Socialist Party, the largest socialism in global history, which is to the left on the political line. It was left-wing Nazis, not right-wing Nazis. Socialism is to the left on the political line, and you have to have socialism to create fascism. This is another factor left out in teachings concerning socialism in our public schools. That the students do not know the classic definition of fascism is a large socialist government that has intertwined large corporations into the government. Let's say this again and get it clear. The classic definition of fascism is a large socialist government that has intertwined private corporations into the governmental body. How Nazi Germany did this and why? Looking further into it, we see that Adolf Hitler had such big socialism, he even wanted to provide a car for his people. The people's car, Volkswagen. Note that because the cost became so great on the back of the Germans and the taxation for this huge socialism where the government was providing housing, providing cars, that in order to do so, they made Volkswagen part of the German government. They used criminals that had been arrested and were incarcerated to work in these factories that had become part of the government. But that's why here in the United States that they can't force individuals in our penal system to work a job. It was fear that our system would turn out like that of Nazi Germany's, where they were just arresting anyone they could in order to get more free labor. And of course the corporations were brought in to provide goods and services because the socialism was so big that it taxed the system to the point that they couldn't have kept on with the provisions, as it were. Germany still fell into bankruptcy. They're over-policing. A third of their population was government informants. Closely akin to the situation that the United States is in right now, where more than 50% of every town is a government informant, getting taxpayer money for needless surveillance. Here in the United States, our government has spent $100 billion a year in each separate individual federal offices for needless surveillance. $100 billion for the FBI, $100 billion for the NSA, $100 billion more for FEMA, $100 billion for BATF, another $100 billion for Homeland Security. And how they did this, where many feel that it was only $30 billion rather than $100 billion, is they ran it through as security teams or under another name or guise, so that they wouldn't understand how much that department and that specific federal office, law enforcement agency, had actually spent Needless surveillance in the United States has become the same money-making scam that it was in Nazi Germany, and both for the same reason, a poor economy, due to too much socialism. We're headed down the same track as Nazi Germany. In the police state costing so much money that it bankrupts the system, and vast socialism. National socialism. We called it socialism on a federal level concerning the healthcare system. When Obama, of course, brought in Obamacare, the debate was to keep the socialism on a state level, which was the Republicans' viewpoint, or the Democrat viewpoint of go ahead and make it federal on a larger scale. And it was Obama who quoted Das Kapital, the book by Karl Marx, the quote being Redistribution of the Wealth, and the book Das Kapital by Karl Marx being the very book that Adolf Hitler had the all-gay Nazi brown shirts give out at the Bible burnings. In Nazi Germany, the all-gay Nazi brown shirts went house to house, demanding to know if the citizens there were going to give over their Bible or Torah to be burned in the Bible burnings due to the Nazi good speak law, which was akin to our now overturned hate speech law. It was censorship of any religious books or paraphernalia, literature that stated homosexuality was sin. The gay identity movement of Nazi Germany had gotten in there and gotten this good speak law passed, a lot like the LGBT movement here in the United States, following the same path as what became the all-gay Nazi brown shirts. They had gays in the military just like the U.S., again following down that same path of Nazi Germany. Their all-gay Nazi brown shirt regiment was policing the nation and enforcing this Nazi good speak law. And when they took up the Bibles and the Torahs and brought in this religious censorship, they gave out Karl Marx's book Das Kapital, as well as other books such as Charles Darwin's book The Descent of Man, that has been under such public scrutiny due to racist statements, where Charles Darwin made statements such as that the Caucasian race was the highest evolved race, and a few chapters later stated that eventually the highest evolved races will annihilate the lesser evolved races. And in his book Origin of Species, referring to the Caucasian races, favored races, in the subtitle, the original subtitle to Origin of Species. Obama quoted Das Kapital, the very book that Hitler wanted given out to all of his people, on redistribution of the wealth, Karl Marx's Socialism. When you get government money, you get government control. Marx's collectivism. Karl Marx supported working for the collective good, having a border bureau decide for everyone what they will allow for the collective good. And for the collective good in Nazi Germany, the gay identity movement has them ban the Torah, or the first 5 books of our King James Bible, and the King James Bible, and bring in an all-gay regiment to enforce it. Remember, policing won by their political or religious opposition here in the United States is illegal. This is why the Nazis were policing the Christians and Jews with the very people that hated them the most, the gay identity movement. The all-gay Nazi brown shirts going from house to house, trying to find those that refuse to hand over their Bible or Torah to be burned in the well-known Bible burnings. This is just more that our public school system has refused to teach because it's walking all over the Democratic Party platform. As you go through talking about Nazi Germany, you begin to see that every point points straight back to the Democratic Party platform. That they're leading us down the path towards that was Nazi Germany, National Socialism. Let that seep down into your ears. That the Democratic Party platform is closely akin to that of the Nazi Party platform, straight down the line. The over-policing, the National Socialism, the censorship, the anti-Christian hate, the anti-Judaic hate, anti-Jewish hate, anti-Semitism. Let that seep down into your ears. The LGBT movement of the gay agenda in the United States is acting exactly like the all-gay Nazi brown shirts of the gay identity movement in Nazi Germany, where it had become trendy to have open transsexuals or transgenders, men in dresses, walking the streets of pre-Nazi Germany. So please do begin to go to your school board meetings. Get politically active with your representatives. Contact the media and speak out. It is my wish that Trump would put a demand on the FCC for equal time for Republicans and an equal number of conservative stations. That all of our media not be run by the Democratic Party, as well as all of our school systems ran by the Democratic Party via teachers' unions. Equal time, an opposing viewpoint. Something America is lacking. Teaching our youth an opposing viewpoint and what our founding fathers believed, as opposed to that of socialist nations. In closing, I'll leave you with one thought concerning those that have radically defended socialism. They have made statements such as how the European socialist nations have prospered, how their socialized medicine has brought them prosperity, there's been no bankruptcy, and no default. When truthfully told, after World War II, the United States began bailing out every country across the globe, especially socialist nations. America was buying friends, trying to prevent war. Billions of taxpayer dollars went to European nations in the red due to their socialism. We've bailed out every socialist nation across the globe yearly with billions of dollars, while our own citizens did without. That's why you don't hear stories of radical poverty and the government collapsing in European nations due to their socialized medicine program. That's why you don't hear of Canada's default. It's because our tax dollars bailed them out. It's not that their socialism did not fail them. Yet again, another point not being mentioned in our government-ran school system that has been hijacked by the Democratic Party through teachers' unions. Write your legislators and demand that your state become a right-to-work state. That the unions, most know as mafia unions, and we're not just discussing Teamsters and Jimmy Hoffa. It's been well known that organized crime has run those labor unions. Should our public schools be hijacked by a political party through unions that the teachers are in? The answer is definitely not. In taking back your nation, You're going to have to get politically active and start speaking out, because the Democrats are used to getting what they want. They're used to being in total control. And many have said that we're conspiracy theorists, that it was the velvet glove on the iron fist. I believe they quoted Reagan as saying that from back in his years as being a Democrat, prior to his running as a Republican. Just remember, when you get government money, you get government control. Even in teachers' unions, being allowed to come in and push their viewpoints, being allowed to be on a political party membership list. The mere fact that the teachers' union is on the Democratic Party membership list and not on the membership list of both parties, it's a big red flag. And the fact that it's been allowed to continue on. The mere fact that most states are not a right-to-work state, that the state can force them to join the labor union, whether it be in private business or a state's union, such as the teachers' union. A border bureau deciding for you how you will live your life. Marxism, collectivism, working for the collective good. Well, the right of the individual, Thomas Jefferson would say that you have the right to choose how you will live your life yourself, without state intervention. Therefore, if you don't feel you should join a union, you don't think it's right for you, that you have the right to make that personal decision. When you get government money, you get government control. Carrie Geren Scoggins, End Times Prophecy News Update. Thank you for listening.